Welcome back to History That Unites. Again, I'm Kurt Roskoff. We're here with the creator of all this, Roger Persaud, and we have a new guest to the show, contact of some significant time already between me and our friend Ralph here. But we're going to come out with Roger here, and we're going to do this thing of telling a story that has a moral to it and a strong message. We got a little tease of it with Roger, Ralph, and I talking in the green room. But now we're out here live in front of you as we do the second and fourth Thursday of every month, coming out at noon Eastern with the live, fresh program that then you can enjoy for the next couple of weeks until we produce another one. But Roger, let's get into it. What do you have for us today? You gave us a tease. Let's hear your story and anything else you want to say. It's your show.
Yes, I want to welcome Ralph. It's good to have a Marine in your corner. If you ever want support, get a Marine in your corner and you are well supported. Today, I want to focus on women. And yes, this is women in history. And everybody knows, I'm sure Ralph has heard of the great Roman Emperor Caesar Augustus. He was an emperor. He was the most famous Roman emperor, and he is one of the more famous Roman generals. We all know that during the time the Bible was written, or well, during part of the New Testament was written, he was in the Middle East. And he actually took control of Egypt. But when Caesar Augustus tried to advance further into Africa from Egypt, he ran up against a Cushite army. And this Cushite army was led by a one-eyed black woman named Amani Reynas. I invite you to copy that name and Google it. Amani Reynas led the Cushite army in a 3-year battle that caused the Romans to capitulate and agree to a treaty on her terms. Now, it's some interesting things that she did. Obviously, she couldn't take on the might of the Roman army head on. So she tried some interesting strategy. She went to a Roman compound and decapitated a statue of Caesar Augustus. Then she put the head of that statue in the floor of the entrance to her court, so that people coming into her court could trample on Caesar Augustus's head. This really ticked off the Romans, and they came in full bore, and she was waiting for them. She used strategy, strategic adaptability, resilience, and focus, and defeated the mighty, mighty Roman Empire that had been ruling the world. They left in defeat. Now, that's a story that's not told very much, because people don't want you to learn about the power of African history, and people also don't want you to learn the power of women and what women have done in our history. Now, I share that story, and Ralph, what do you think of that story? It's a quick, short story, but with just a short podcast, I just threw that in, and I'd like your input.
Well, first of all, I'm unfamiliar with the story other than you just saying it here. But my daughter, who's the 30-year-old pharmacist, would love it. 100% guarantee you she would love it. In fact, when you were telling it, that's what I'm saying to myself. Man, my daughter would love this. Okay. So right now, as you're speaking, I have another computer screen right there, and I'm Googling it as we speak. Okay. Just to kind of get a little more information, because I was unfamiliar with it. But Caesar Augustus was a great leader of Rome, and when he died off, there was just all kinds of issues afterwards. Nero came into play and a bunch of others. So I'm very interested in the history. I'm unfamiliar with this story, with this piece of it. So I'm learning something today.
Well, that's life. We learn something every day, whether you want to or not. But the basic tenets of what I do is I share historically overlooked narratives. because after flying all over the world and connecting with people on all 7 continents, I have great friendships, great relationships that have lasted over 40 years. And I treasure those relationships. But I also saw way too much division. And I'm also an aircraft engineer. In aircraft engineering, we use root cause analysis to address chronic issues, not just to fix them, but to see if we can't prevent recurrence, because that's real progress and that's real money. When I applied root cause analysis to what was being taught, I quickly realized that history in its current form is designed to divide. And I set out to change that because we are being lied to. Most of our divisions are based on ignorance. Most people that have knowledge will know that racism is based on ignorance.
Oh yeah.
And you know, we
You have to
are
be a
much more similar than we are different. And nowhere that I see that more clear in my service in the United States military. Being an Air Force guy, I interacted. We were heavy drivers. I flew a C-130, and we had Army guys, Marines, a lot of Marines. I don't know why you guys would want to jump out of a perfectly working airplane, but that's what you did. But I'm just being funny. But we came together as one, with one cause, with one love, the love of the ideals that this country was built on. And that built me, built my character, built my personality, and everything else that I represent. And I'm sure that had a major impact on you, Ralph.
Oh, the Marine Corps was unbelievable. I actually worked on C-130s a little bit, not a lot. I worked on what they call PMEL, Precision Measuring Equipment Laboratories. But when I joined the reserves, they wouldn't let me work on PMEL. Is all of the equipment that's used to measure something, okay, has to be right. And so it's my job was to make sure that the measuring equipment was right. And when the measuring equipment wasn't right, then we had to fix it and make it right. So you got an unbelievable education in the inner workings of electronics. Just unbelievable. They stopped doing. In fact, the whole military got rid of my job because now they use civilians to do it. They figured they were spending a fortune on my education, and then after 4 years or after 6 years, we would get out. But when I was in joined the reserves in North Chicago, a place called Glenview Naval Air Station, we had C-130s there. And because of the sensitivity of PMEL equipment, you're only there 2 days, okay? They don't want you taking something apart, okay, and then leaving for a month, okay? They said they wouldn't let us do that. So they moved me from PMEL to avionics. And then I would go out and service C-130s. And basically, you take out an altimeter and you put a new one in. Okay, that was it. That was my work. But what's interesting is, okay, so you're talking about flying C-130s. I worked on them a little bit in back in the early 1980s. My son, who's in the Air Force right now, in Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, he's working on C-130s right now. And as we speak, that's probably, no, he's sleeping. He works night shift. But anyways, but that's what he does. So it's kind of interesting is that, you flew on them, I flew on them and worked on them. And my son, the military's been using the C-130 since 1959.
Yes, sir.
And they're not getting rid of it anytime soon.
They're still building them.
They're, 4 strong turbo. That's not the purpose of your call to talk about, C-130s. But, they're just a great aircraft. And so, anyways, and I'm looking over here at Queen Armorinius, okay, of the ancient African kingdom of Kush, modern day Sudan. Yes. In 25 BC, she led a massive army of about 30,000 warriors against Roman forces in Egypt. Despite losing one eye in battle, her strategic strikes successfully stopped Rome's southward expansion. So exactly what you said. I just read it right out of Google. But anyways, my daughter would love that story.
I'm sure she would. And it's sad that you have to Google this story and it's not in the history books. And there are tons more like that, Ralph. There are
Well,
tons more. And that's my purpose. My purpose is sharing these stories to build the bridges that will bring people together. We are way too divided, and there's
oh
no
yeah.
reason for that. There is no
History teaches
reason
us
why
one
we're so
thing.
divided. Excuse
History
me?
teaches us one thing better than anything else, is that we refuse to learn from history. Humans are gullible, very gullible, and easily misled. Okay, even people with high school, college degrees, multiple college degrees, and so you ask them a simple fact, and they give you some random answer that's not even close to being right, and the mantra spoken by people over and over and over is repeated, and it's based on information that's not even close to being fact. And again, I'm a female guy. Okay, so when I hear information, I want to know, okay, where it came from. You know, recently we were bombing just a couple months ago. We were bombing Iraq, and we hit.
Iran.
Oh, I said Iraq. I'm sorry, Iran. I apologize. But we actually hit a school. That's a big deal. It happens. And so when aircraft is moving at, C-130 moved what, about just under 400 knots,
Yeah.
cruise. But fighters aren't moving that. They're moving, at 500 miles an hour. That's what, 733 feet per second. Okay, and if they're moving at 1,000 miles an hour, they're moving at 1,400, was it 66? 1,466 feet per second. Okay, and if your equipment's off just a little bit, that far is 5 football fields. You're moving. And
Oh,
if
yeah.
you can be off just a little bit, and when
Oh, yeah. But what people don't realize is 1 degree off course over a period of time can take you to another end of the world.
yeah,
You talk about P-Mel, and I go even further back than that. I started and I learned to use a sextant. There are very few people in the Air Force who know how to use a sextant. A lot of guys in the Marines and the Navy know how to use a sextant.
okay, Roger, I'm going to admit something, which I probably should not do. But I hold 4 world records in extreme boating. Okay, I crossed the Atlantic Ocean in the smallest powerboat in the history of the world. I've never used a sextant. I'm terrible about that. I really should learn to use one, in case all of my electronics ever go to go out. But anyways, and in fact, I'm going to make it a point to get one and learn to use it. I'm gonna give you credit for that, Roger. Right now, I'm going to write down somewhere in my notes that it was you that caused me to get that in my head and want to do it. I really do hold
Kurt,
4 world records in boating, by the way.
we'll talk about that because I love boating. I love sailing. Where I am now, I can't do any of that. But Kurt, because Ralph is here, I want to share one more story, if you will permit me. Is that okay?
I'm game. Ralph, you game with me here? Should we do this?
I like the last story. Okay.
This one may even have more impact. You see the sign that says Haiti Orphans Wishes. What you don't know is my first book is called America Should Be Grateful to Haiti. Now, that may sound absolutely ridiculous. Why should America, the most powerful and the richest country in the world, be grateful to the most impoverished country in the Western Hemisphere? Well, let me clear it up for you. By 1750, Haiti became the gem of the Antilles, producing coffee, cotton, cocoa, sugar, and indigo, and soon responsible for 50% of French GDP. Now, France is one of the most powerful countries in the world. But the 1750s is also an era of enlightenment. You have a document that came out of France called the Declaration of the Rights of Man. This is the document that spurred on the Declaration of Independence and started the American Revolution.
Bill of Rights.
No, no, this is the Declaration of the Rights of Man. This is before that.
I understand that. Yeah.
Then in 1789, the French started their revolution. Here's a tip. Haitians fought in both revolutions alongside the French. Now, Haiti started their fight in 1791, and theirs was not a fight against one European power for 1 year. No, sir, they fought a 13-year battle against the local French. The reinforcements sent in from France. Then the British came in. They just lost America. And they wanted not just Haiti, but Martinique and Guadeloupe. They came in. 10 million pounds fought for 2.5 years, left in defeat. Then the Spanish took their shot. Then Napoleon came back. He sailed 408 ships, 88,000 troops, and left in ignominious defeat after 3 years. Now you can say, Roger, that's a nice story, but what the hell does that have to do with America? Well, up to that point, America only existed on the East Coast and the West Coast. The entire center of the United States, from the Gulf of Mexico all the way and up and into Canada, was French territory. Napoleon Bonaparte dreamed of a Western Empire, using the money he was making in Haiti to develop it. But after he lost Haiti, then he lost all that blood and treasure trying to keep Haiti. He had no choice but to create what I'm sure you've heard of, the Louisiana Purchase. America got 828,000 square miles for $13 million and became contiguous from ocean to ocean for the first time in history. Now, if the Haitians were not successful in repelling Napoleon, the Louisiana Purchase would have never happened. Now, shouldn't America be grateful for that?
Yes.
Well, the Louisiana Purchase was, how do you do the word that's just right? European kings that didn't own anything, okay, all right, sold something they didn't own to someone else, okay, who then had, I mean, you know, the French didn't, the French had claim on that land, but they didn't own it. The Indians owned it for the most part. But the Indians were no different. Hang on, let me back up. The humanity, the basic concepts of war and greed have not changed since the beginning of humans. Okay, and so the American Indians fought among themselves. Okay, and they killed each other. The Europeans, the Europeans were really good at war for the most part, especially the British. When you go look at the history, they were just, I mean, look at what the British occupied. Okay, why were they so good at it? It's because of competition, massive competition. Okay, among themselves. A referee. The key is really important for the referee. And the third one I can't think of in just a second. I'll think of it. But there's 3 basic reasons. And the Europeans, they walked all over for the most part, the rest of the world. Now they did terrible with Haiti. Okay, and like you said, thank you, Haiti, for messing with the French so bad. Okay, but you know, you stop and think about it. That, you know, there are more people, more countries in the world speak English than any other country. Okay, it's 86 if you want to look it up. Okay,
I know.
Right behind that is French. It's 29. 29 countries speak French. Okay, then right behind that is the Spanish, is 26, and then the Portuguese is right behind that, and then right behind that is the Dutch. Now, what do you know about all of those countries? They're all right next to each other.
They're all colonizers.
They're all right next to each other. And what happened was they fought among themselves, massive competition. All right. And they had lots and lots of practice fighting among themselves. And they had a referee. Now, whether you like the Catholic Church or not, the Catholic Church basically was a referee to them. And if you took, you know, if Spain took too much of France, the French would go down to Rome and complain. and the Romans would say, give it back. Okay. It's just like if you look at South America is divided in basically Brazil speaks Portuguese and almost everybody else speaks Spanish. Why? Because the Pope said so. That's it. If you go look at the history, the Pope decided that. Who gave the Pope the right to decide that? But basically, the Pope told them, okay, you can invade this country. You can invade this country. Okay, you can invade this country.
Ralph, you need to read my book. I explain all of that in my book. And I explain the 3 papal bulls that were created by the church to codify slavery and to divide up the world between Spain and Portugal.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Spain was not a country until Rome stepped in. Ferdinand and Isabella didn't come together until the 1400s. That brought the 2 largest provinces in Spain together. And then the Pope decided, okay, this is a country.
Cool.
Now, you mentioned South America. Sir, with all due respect, that's where I'm from. I was born in Georgetown, Guyana, which Georgetown, Guyana was Dutch, French, and now it's British.
Yep.
Okay. We have parts of South America. We have parts of the Guyana Basin that's actually Guyana's British now. Well, it's not British anymore. It's independent. Suriname used to be Dutch. That's
Yes.
Suriname now. And then I'm going to give you the last one. And there's a story to the last one. That's Cayenne, French Guyana. And sir, you might not know this, but that is the only non-independent territory in South America. You know why? Because that's the base for Kourou project. That is where the French launched their rockets because it's 2 degrees north latitude of the equator. So Cayenne will never be independent because the French cannot afford to give up Kourou project and develop another space launch platform. Okay, so South America is a very good example of how the world was divided. There's another story that I tell in my book, and it's called the Berlin Conference. The Berlin Conference happened in 1884, 1885. Are you familiar with the Berlin Conference, Ralph?
No, sir.
The Berlin Conference, this is 1884 and 1885. It started late in the year and ended up early in the year. This is where 13 European countries and America, although America didn't take a slice, they got together and divided up Africa among all of Europe. The Berlin Conference, that's where that took place.
I can believe that.
And one of the worst results of the Berlin Conference, is what happened in what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. That became the Belgian Congo. And King Leopold killed over 15 million Africans who weren't bringing him enough gold or rubber. King Leopold used it as his personal little fiefdom. But this is another story that's not told. The Berlin Conference is a hidden story. King Leopold's brutal destruction of the Congo is an untold story.
There's all through the world, and that's one of the worst cases. But there's just massive execution of human beings for the same old thing, the greed and power struggle, and those who have it want more. Okay, and that's just the way it is. And the third thing I was trying to think of, and I don't know why I couldn't think of it, was new ideas, massive competition, and a referee. Okay, and new ideas, bringing new things to the market. Okay, massive competition to make them better, and then a referee. Because if you don't have a referee, exactly what you just said happens, and that's where the super strong take over the weak. And it's not that those countries were weak, but they were militarily weak. Okay, and it happens all the time. The super strong run over the weak, and the strong get stronger and stronger, and they just, boom. So,
Let me
like,
let me let me let me let me challenge that in a different way, just for a little bit.
absolutely challenge it.
India had a 24% share of world GDP in the 1600s. The British, using a corporation, by the way, the East India Company. It was
Yes.
not the British themselves who invaded the Indian subcontinent, it was the East India Company on behalf of the British, who actually had an army twice the size of the British Army. But then they got all messed up, and then they turned it over to the British in 1857, and the British ruled until 1947. This is partition and Indian independence. But here's the deal: the British co-opted rich Indians to side with them,
Oh yeah.
and they did. And after the British left, India's share of the global GDP went from 24% in 1600 to 3% in 1947.
Well,
And the rules, here's
there's
a
more
kicker.
to that though. It wasn't just that India got screwed when they did, and they did get screwed bad. Okay, but other countries rose, and so
England
you
rose.
got to bring
And,
the
and,
both
and
into the
here's the
equation.
thing: England was rising and rising richly.
Oh yeah.
Ireland was starving. They're neighbors. They're part of the UK. They
Mm-hmm.
were starving. The potato famine happened about the same time. But here's one thing I want to point out, and this is the fallacy of what is spoken about. People will say, "Oh, the British went to India to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ." Well, the
British
British
went to
went to
India to steal what they could steal.
well, they
And
did, but let me tell you when the gospel of Jesus. Do you know when the gospel of Jesus Christ reached the shores of India?
I've been told by people way back into the right at the time of Christ, right after Christ.
Absolutely. You're one of the few people that know that. Apostle Thomas went to Palmyra. And that's why Kerala, which is the state of that Palmyra is in, has so many Christians today. In 55 AD, St. Thomas brought the gospel of Jesus Christ to India. So the fact that the English said they're bringing it in the 1600s is ludicrous. But people don't know history, like you said. People don't know history, and we're allowed to repeat these mistakes.
Oh, we're repeating them right now. I don't want to get too far off the subject, but we're repeating some huge mistakes right now. Huge. But in we live in an age where you can look things up and research things. Okay. And so few people do. Um, so basically, and I don't want to get too deep into too many subjects, but we live in a time when it doesn't take a lot of research um, to come up with some, understanding. And instead of just being accepting everything you're being told, take a few minutes and do a little research. Okay. You can. It's like I looked up this Queen Armoranius in 15 seconds. Okay, and read the story like you were telling me. And we're being told by all kinds of people things that just don't make any sense whatsoever, and the masses will repeat what they're told without doing any research. For instance, the oceans are rising. Yes, they are. No question about it, they're rising. We've been measuring it since 1870. Okay. They're rising at approximately 1/8 of 1 inch per year. It's actually a little bit less than 1/8 of 1 inch per year. And so we've been measuring it for well over 150 years. They did the test in Miami, and over 100 years, it went up almost exactly a foot. So doing simple math, 1 foot equals 12 inches. 12 inches divided by 100 years is 0.12 inches per year, which is slightly less than 1/8 of an inch per year, which is the same as been measuring since we started measuring it in 1870. So in 1870, there were no cars. There was no industrial India. There was no industrial China. Um, there, all of these things that happen. Okay, here another thing we know. Okay, so we know that the cars didn't cause the oceans to rise, and we know that the population expansion didn't cause it because it's rising at the same rate it's been rising since 1870. No change there. And people want to do a 1 year measurement. 1 year measurement's baloney. Okay, it doesn't mean anything. All right, because some years you get more, some years you get less. You got to have a long-term averages. And so pretty much there's about the only thing in the world that just about every scientist in the world agrees to is that when a glacier moves, it leaves striations on the land, lines on the land. And so we can look at glaciers moving now and we know what kind of striations they leave. And if you go to northern central United States, like Montana area, you'll see those exact same striations across the land. So just about every scientist in the world, about the only thing they all agree on is that there was glaciers in Montana at one time. But those glaciers have been gone since white man got here, because that's when recorded history came in here, or written recorded history came around. And so they've been gone. So for at least 400 years, they've been gone. So almost everybody believes they were there about 4,000. So if they were here about 4,000 years ago and they're gone 400 years ago, that means the earth got warmer between 4,000 years and 400 years. That's just a fact. Okay. And nobody really debates that. Well, the car didn't cause it. The automobile didn't cause it. The industrial world didn't cause it. So what is causing? I don't know what actually caused it, but I do know that it's warming slightly, not a lot, but slightly. The measurements they're using is 0.006 degrees per year. Okay, not 0.6 degrees, not 0.06, but 0.006 degrees per year Celsius. Do you realize how small that is? 0.006 degrees per year, and we're causing economic alarm for that. It's when you get into the actual measurements, and those measurements are based on some speculative stuff that's not really verifiable, but that's the going number. If you look it up, that's the going number. Over 100 years, it's 0.6 degrees. Okay, less than 1 degree over 100 years is well outside the capability parameters of the thermometers they used 100 years ago. And so it's possibly within range of error. Okay, could easily be. So I'm not saying, but those are the published numbers. If you go out and look at them, I don't know if they're right or wrong. I have no idea, and I don't think anybody on the planet really knows if they're right or wrong. But to cause alarm over 0.006 degrees per year doesn't make any sense at all to me. And anyways, I'm going to sign off here, guys, because I've probably just made somebody really mad at me.
You're not going to sign off before you tell us about Cup Royale.
Oh, well, Cup Royale, I already hold 4 world records in boating. I wrecked a boat many years ago and got mad at the way boats are built and thought I could build a better boat. There's 3 big problems in boats, okay? 3 big ones. I'm trying to get my 3 in the camera right there. There we go. 3. One of them is big waves, okay? Another one is shallow water. And the third one is horrible, horrible fuel economy. Boats that are made for big waves run aground in shallow water. Boats that are made for shallow water generally tip over and sink in big waves. And then they all get horrible, horrible fuel economy. So I wrecked a boat a long time ago and got kind of pissed off at the way boats are built and thought I could do a better job. I wanted a boat that could run in about that much water and be safe on the ocean. Okay. And because you got large areas of water that are just only 6-8 inches deep all over the coast line of Florida. Okay. 6-8 inches, maybe a foot deep in some spots and stuff. Texas is the same way. And so those areas are called flats, and boats that can shoot across those flats are called flats boats. Okay. So you want that capability, but you want to be safe in the ocean as well. And so my wife eventually told me to either do it or shut up. I was driving everybody nuts. And so I decided to do it. So we mortgaged our house, then raised actually about $2 million over a period of time. It wasn't all at once. It was over a period of time. Little pieces here, little pieces are there. But we started building and ripping apart boats because I really didn't know a clue what I was doing. I had some basic understanding. I went and got a naval architect, not a naval architect, but a marine engineer to help me. And I went through all kinds of naval architectural stuff, learning different things. And because again, I just wanted to learn. But I learned all kinds of stuff about how to get this stuff done. And then we built it and it didn't work. And then we built it and it didn't work. And we built it and it didn't work. And we built it and it didn't work. And it built it and it didn't work. And built it and it didn't work. Anybody could get a boat to move, but I wanted a boat to run in that much water and be safe in the ocean. And so 16 major rebuilds and about 30 minor rebuilds, voila, it worked. And so I made some boats, sold to the U.S. Army, got repeat orders from the U.S. Army, sold to the National Park Service, got repeat orders from the National Park Service, sold to the Federal Fish and Wildlife, got repeat orders from the Federal Fish and Wildlife, sold to NOAA, National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. All these guys have a need to go into the backwaters and to get from place to place where, and not tip over and stuff. I set the world record for the smallest powerboat to ever cross the Atlantic Ocean in the history of the world. Set 3 other world records, all about flats boats that can run in super shallow water. And then basically, I was building them one at a time. And in that process, I discovered one more thing, a way to get much better fuel economy on a boat. And because boats get horrendous fuel economy, I mean, if you get in your car and go down the interstate and you're doing 70 miles an hour and you have a modern car, internal combustion engine, you're probably getting 20, 25 miles to the gallon, somewhere in that area. Truck, a little bit less. If you get a boat that can go 70 miles an hour, which are very few, and has a 300-mile range, which is your car's got about 350-mile range, some a little bit more, some a little bit less, same kind of range, you're not getting 20 to 30 miles to the gallon. You're getting 2 to 3 gallons to the mile in that boat. And the average person has no clue how bad it is. So I ran across some ways to improve the fuel economy, and I tested them. They worked. And then I built more test models, and they worked. Okay. They worked better than I thought they would. And so I started looking at this, and there was a guy that went around the world faster than any small boat did. He didn't break the Navy's record, okay, which I'm going to break. Okay. But anyways, he ran around the world in a boat called Earth Race. And I started looking at that and I said, hey, we should demonstrate this technology by going around the world faster than anybody else. In the process that we heard about another guy that was going to do the same thing. We challenged him to make a race out of it. He said, I'm a high-class British person and you're a low-class American. I would never do business with you. I actually kept the email. So someday when he comes back, I'm going to shove it in his face. But we're using backyard technology. He's upper class British. Okay, so European. That's if they're upper class. But anyway, so we're creating an annual race around the world, and so it's all about new ideas, massive competition, and a referee. Okay, the new ideas. We're hoping all kinds of new ideas come out to develop better hydrodynamic technologies. Not just my ideas, but better than mine. There's a lot of people that are way smarter than me, way smarter than me. But anyways, that will develop new technologies. The shipping industry uses the same technology since they've been using since the 1920s, 100 years ago, for the most part. So anyways, we will hope to see new technologies come out, but not just new technology, but to prove those technologies in such an incredible testing system that the shipping industry would look at it. And what's important is the insurance industry, okay, that takes all of the risk. We'll look at it because the shipping industry is not going to touch anything, okay, that they can't get insurance on. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so you've got to prove it in such a way that insurance companies would be interested in assuming those risks. And so we're looking to create an annual competition. Like right now, you'd have to have your head buried in the mud to not know that World Cup soccer is going on right now. Okay, everywhere you turn, they're talking about everywhere. Okay, The reason World Cup soccer is the second most popular thing on TV worldwide is because it's nation competing against nation in a competition. So the number one most popular thing in the world is the Olympics. It's nation versus nation competition. The second thing is World Cup soccer. Nation gets nations competition. The third thing is cricket. Okay, World Cup cricket. I don't even know how to play the game. It's not an American game, okay, at all. I know it's a British game in places that were colonies of Britain that play it, okay, but it's the third most popular thing in the world, okay, on TV. Again, I have no clue how to play it. The fourth most popular thing in the world is Chinese New Year, and the fifth most popular thing in the world is the Tour de France, a bicycle race. What you find in 4 out of the 5, Chinese New Year is a whole different world all by itself. Okay, but the 4 out of the 5 is all the same thing. Nation competing against nation. Okay, that's what it is in a sporting competition. Well, Cup Royale is nation competing against nation in a competition to go around the world faster than any other buddy has ever done. We break it into 20 ocean races and 20 harbor races and 20 events. Okay, hospitality events, festivals, parade, the whole thing. All because if you understand the value of marketing, it's that humanitarian experience associated with the competitions that really bring it out. And so we're doing all of those things. And it's not because we're really smart. It's because we look at other things that are successful and apply them to what we're doing. Okay. And so if you can dissect what really works, why not do it? Why not structure it that way to begin with? Formula One just went to a franchise system. Okay, NASCAR is going to a franchise system. Why don't we just copy the franchise system first and do it first that way? So we're using that franchise system as well.
All right, anyways, Ralph. I think what you're doing is fantastic. I just put my information in the chat. I want to connect with you for several reasons. And one of the reasons is I come from Guyana, which is called Land of Many Waters. So boats are big with us. We need to talk. But you brought up something that's near and dear to my heart. You brought up cricket. And you said cricket is not an American game. Sir, here's something that you can win. And you travel all over the world. You can walk into a bar in any expat former British country and win this bet. The first international cricket match was between which two countries? The first international cricket match was between the United States and Canada and was played in New York in Bloomingdale Park. And that, my friend, is the oldest competition in the world. And why is that important to me? Because I played in the 1987 version of that game. I represented the United States against Canada in cricket in 1987 in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Okay, I'm going to repeat the sentence that I know for a fact. I don't know how to play the game. Okay, Kurt, do you know how to play the game?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, here, let me help you out. Let me help you out.
And baseball. Can you play cricket? My wife is 4. She doesn't know how to play cricket either.
Here's the thing. Baseball came from cricket.
Oh, I'm not disputing that.
Abner Doubleday is a myth. There were two English cricketers who came over here and started clubs. By the way, the oldest sports club in America is the Boston Cricket Club. And another one in the Boston area called the Langford Cricket Club. But they don't play cricket anymore. They play golf and tennis. Excuse me?
We teach baseball in our schools. Okay?
Yes, but here's the deal. The British were going to charge royalty on the American game. That's why these guys changed the game. They merged cricket with a game the British soldiers played in India called rounders. And that's where you get the bases. Okay? So cricket is more American than you can imagine.
But yet, I don't know how to play. Kurt doesn't know how to play. My wife over the corner doesn't know how to play. So,
and guess what? On TV, right now, well, not at this moment, but later this evening, you can watch Major League Cricket with franchise games all over the United States. There are over 200 teams in Texas.
You win. You
No,
win.
I'm not. This is not a competition. I'm just
Okay,
telling you,
history
this
has taught us that I'm uninformed about the history of cricket. Okay, I'm just
no.
you win.
It is not important to you. It is not important to Kirk. But until somebody points it out to you, it doesn't make sense. You have no reason to understand cricket, neither does Kirk. Now that he
Not that
knows
I
me, he knows
don't.
cricket.
I don't. Not that I don't want to learn. No, it is that I should learn to care because a lot of people. It's the third most popular thing on TV worldwide. Okay, I should want to care, but right now, I'm more interested in racing. Okay, nation versus nation racing. So I know a little bit about that. Okay, and I care about that. So
Well, I just wanted to throw that in there
I
because
can't
you were
argue
the
with
one
you.
that brought up cricket, not me.
History teaches us that we're not that smart. Okay. So I agree. All right. I know a little bit about something, not everything. So, and so
If you ever meet someone who claims to know everything, congratulations, you've met an idiot.
I would agree with that.
The more I
Wholeheartedly agree.
learn, is the more I realize how little I know.
So,
So,
Kurt, your homework for this week is to learn the rules for cricket.
Yeah, we'll get her did.
well, we covered a lot of ground today. I really enjoyed this. Ralph, you're a joy to be with. You share your genius, and it's amazing. And I want to connect with you because we can help change this world and make it a better place. By the way, my focus right now is on the younger generation. I want them to understand that we are much more similar than different. That's why I'm doing a workshop July 30th that's free for parents to come and see how I work. I use incredible untold stories like some I shared with you today to teach kids how to think critically and embrace cultural understanding. That's
Well, I
Roger, and
think
I
that's
thank you.
important. I really do. Um, the difference between the races has more to do with how much sun they got. Everybody
Proximity to
should
the
know.
sun. That's it. That's the only difference.
That's it.
Proximity to the
If
sun.
you're in
That's what
an
makes our
area
skin
where
color,
you're
our
not,
hair texture, all this stuff.
if you're in an area where you're getting low sun, your skin doesn't need pigment to block the sun.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're gonna basically you're gonna want to absorb as much sun, so your skin is going to be lighter, so you can absorb it. And if you're from an area where you get a ton of sun, then your skin is going to naturally create pigment to darken that area to block the sun from frying your brain. Okay, and that's the only difference. Okay, um, and we're that's it. um, it's not. It doesn't take a little genius to. I mean, and morons make a bigger deal out of that. Now, I want to go back to the idea of new ideas, massive competition, and a referee for just 2 seconds. And that's what advanced the Europeans so much. Okay, there's new ideas, and because of that, they were able to conquer most of the world. Okay, and I live in a country they conquered. Okay, it's because new ideas, massive competition, and a referee. Um, and so that's what Cup Royale is: new ideas, massive competition, and a referee. And we hope to change the world of transportation through new ideas, massive competition, and a referee, and make some
Great,
money in the
man. I wish
process.
you the best.
And
All right. Thanks, everybody. That'll do it for today. We'll see you next time right here at History That Unites. What a show.
there you go.